furrow. And the pigment here is unevenly distributed, concentrating in the center over the nutritive or pupillary zone. Now that that work is complete, I think we need to study the various iris densities. Iris density, that is the density, the relative density of the iris fibers, is a measure of the resistance of the body towards negative morbid influence, whether that be in the form of external toxic material or internal metabolic wastes, or other influences like negative emotions, accidents, traumas. Different parts of the body are, you might say, assigned a certain quotient of energy. Well, the iris is a blueprint to tell us which portions of the body have enough energy to meet the demands and which portions of the body need some assistance. Iris density measures the resistance. And resistance is in itself a guide towards understanding the function of that part of the body that's reflected in that position of the iris. To study iris density is really to study the surface structure of the iris. And structure supersedes function. Now remember, the iris is a microstructure of the body. So as we're looking at the iris density, we're really looking at the structural integrity of the body. And hence any deviations in the structural integrity will tell us about deviations in the functional ability. In this case, in terms of density, we're dealing with resistance as a function. Now we'll start out by showing you a very dense iris. Good structural integrity. The fibers are close together in this blue eye. We might say that this individual can resist the negative influences and compensate without much awareness of that compensation occurring in the body. In other words, if you're not feeling ill, you don't really notice your body. You're doing your business. You're being productive, creative, whatever. You don't see a lot of these people. They don't come to health practitioners because they're basically well. And they have few complaints. Now look at this next iris. You'll notice there are some areas where the fibers become a little wavy and separate. Now this is a different colored eye and it's a little harder to see the fibers, but take a close look. In this eye you see radial furrows. You didn't see those before. The radial furrows are most apparent in the upper portion of this iris. In the pupillary zone you'll see some furrows, a few small defect signs. In the ciliary zone, just outside the collarette, a few crypts. If we were to grade these irises, I would consider this next iris similar to the one you just saw, although it's a blue eye. The fibrous integrity is fairly uniform, although there are some areas in the iris that appear to be weaker. The fibers are wavier. There seems to be a shading in that area. Let's take a look. Down here in the lower portion of the iris, the fibrous separation reveals some darker shading. Up above here we have a few vague lacuniforms. We have some small defects just inside the collarette and what appears to be a crypt right here outside the collarette. In contrast to the blue eye we looked at earlier, there seems